What are you drinking? I'm drinking ginger, lemon, honey tea with some blue butterfly pea in it. It's pretty tasty, and it's supposed to be good for you. So, welcome to Canada Kate Coffee. Sometimes I forget even the simplest words. The word for today is Teria. Teria. I hope I'm saying that right. And it's a Canada word that means courage. Now, some people have said that I've got a lot of courage for a woman. And I think in a lot of ways I've had to be. In fact, I think all my siblings have had to be pretty courageous in order to do the things that they've been able to do. But I think the one thing that shaped my Daria, made me have Daria the most, was probably my experience with horses. And Kudere is the word for a horse in Canada. I learned that a long time ago, and I do remember it because, as my mother can tell you, anything that would have a horse in it would get my attention, even as a young girl. This squirrel really is very chatty today. I hope you don't mind him. I think he really likes talking too. He wants you all to hear him. But anyway, on to Teria. So yeah, horses have shaped my personality and the aspect of Teria, because in order to go up to a large animal that's 1,000 pounds or more, that could easily just strike you with a hoof or reach out and snap at you and bite a limb off or something. I mean, they're so much bigger and more powerful than humans. They don't necessarily have to cooperate with us. But my mother always loved horses, and so I decided from the time I was 5 years old that I also loved horses. I had a picture of one, a print of a horse on my bedroom wall when I was little. One day I decided I was going to try to draw it, and I spent the longest time I ever spent trying to draw that horse, and finally got to some semblance of it that I was happy with, and I was obsessed with horses ever since. Anyway, this video is not exactly about horses, it's about Daria. I needed a lot of Daria with the first horse that I got. When I was 16, my grandmother, my Aji, she bought me a horse. She said it was for herself, but she was living with my father, and she knew that the way that he would cooperate was if she said it was for herself. But she told me it was really for me, because she knew that I was so obsessed with horses, so obsessed with them, and I needed that kind of experience in my life. She got it, but she didn't really check out its personality before she bought it. It was a mean horse, and I guess since I was mean as a young girl, it just is fitting that I should get a mean horse. But the thing is, I needed a lot of Daria to make the decision that I did. Maybe it was a dumb decision, I don't know. I'm not the smartest person in the world. But I decided that this might be the only horse I ever get. my entire life because I come from a poor family. And there was probably no way that my family was ever going to get enough land or enough money to be able to keep a horse. So my parents were split up at this time, if you didn't know that. My father was living out in the country and he had bought a piece of land where a horse could be kept. And my grandmother had moved in with him. And so suddenly it was possible for us to have a horse.
Yes!
I was so happy. I can't tell you how happy I was about this whole thing. So I put my mind to it that since this mean horse was probably going to be the only horse I'd ever have my whole entire life, that I would make it work. No matter what happened, I was going to make this mean horse work for me. I would develop a relationship with it. I would go on adventures with it. I would do whatever I wanted to do in my life with a horse, with this horse. Well, this horse didn't really know how to carry a rider. It had never really been trained for that. And also it had some kind of a mental problem where it would try to hurt whoever got on it or whoever was leading it, and she didn't care if she hurt herself in the process. So she was a very difficult animal to work for, especially someone who is very new to horses like me. I didn't have a lot of horse mentors growing up. I didn't have anybody around me that would teach me. My grandma thought she knew things about horses, but she didn't. Well, to make a long story short, I developed my terrier teaching this horse how to be ridden. Because every time I got on, she would do everything but buck to try to get me to fall off. And I did fall off, probably 500 times. But I got up my derriere, brushed myself off. Even if I was hurting, I would get right back up on that horse again, because I didn't want her to feel like she had won the situation, that she was going to get away with hurting someone again. When you're 50 years old, your voice isn't quite as smooth as it used to be, so maybe that'll help. So eventually, over a period of a couple of years at least, I taught this horse and myself how to be ridden. I did take a couple of lessons, but I wasn't able to, I think, do more than 3 or 4, maybe 5 horse lessons my whole entire life. 5 riding lessons. And I actually got this horse to jump obstacles with me. She would go through streams, although most of the time she'd try to hop over them first. And I could make her do just about anything that I asked her to do, which was, there's a lot of stories involved with that, but we don't have time for that here. One horse story I have years later that really taught me something about derriere. I had a horse of my own that I'd bought for myself, my favorite horse, and I wanted to try to breed her, to get a baby horse from her. And there was a neighbor nearby who had this powerful horse. It was a male, and for a small amount of money, I could breed to his horse. So I took my mare to his stallion, and his stallion was not very nice either, and he was scary, very scary. He would charge people, and he came charging at us when we entered his pasture. And I was getting scared because I had never had a horse actually charge at me before, like he was gonna run over me. But the owner of this stallion taught me something. When the horse came a little too close, the stallion owner threw out his hand and just stood his ground and threw out his hand. The stallion threw his head up, spun around, and ran the other way. And I was like, oh, thank goodness. I thought this horse was going to hurt us. But it really showed me the kind of power that humans can have if they just show some terria. And so I've been able to exercise terria in many aspects of my life. I'll probably have some stories connected with that in the future. I was able to become an electrician as a young woman, which is very unusual for a girl to do. I have stories about being on the job, and it helps me to dare to buy my own house at a young age, to sit for job interviews that I'd never done before. There's many things that life requires terria if you are going to get the things that you want to have. Terria, it's important. It's not easy. It doesn't mean that you're just naturally brave. It means you're scared, but you do it anyway. So here's to terria in your life. I hope that in whatever aspect of life that you need it, that you can cultivate it. Thanks for having a drink with me. Enjoy your day, and I'll talk to you next time.